Armored Core is back, seemingly in a very different mood and style than before though, because after all, it has been a decade. But the big question I think many will be asking now is, should they even care? Maybe you're a fan of the FromSoftware team, and obviously the majority of that is the Soulsborne series, but maybe you're not even sure if you'd enjoy a mech sim style game. My aim today is give you the information you need to know, and let you decide if it sounds promising yourself. Personally, I think it does. So hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming, and welcome back to Armored Core. Armored Core 6 Fires of Rubicon was revealed at the Game Awards. While we were expecting Elden Ring DLC news by this point, we also knew that Armored Core was coming and would likely be announced here too, thanks to FromSoft's own actions, such as accidentally changing the description of their official website to the words Armored Core for a brief period, or the rather suspicious launch of the new Armored Core figurines, as well as leaks from a while back, and the fact that we knew they were working on another major project as of mid-2022 that was, according to Miyazaki himself, very near completion. That project, as we now know, was Armored Core 6, but now the questions roll in. Will this be the Armored Core we knew before, simply updated, or will this be something different to revive and revitalize the series? It has been a decade of learning and a lot of success with the Souls series for FromSoft, but what lessons will they apply to Armored Core? Today I have information about Armored Core 6, but first I want to talk about Armored Core as a concept for those wondering. It has a comparable history to the Souls series, starting back in 1997 for PlayStation with 5 main titles and then various additional releases around those. This series progressed steadily and had a lot of success. In fact, it was really the reliable foundation that FromSoftware was able to build upon. While they were trying different things and different titles, Armored Core was their consistent success. As a mech piloting game, you were able to customize and create your own ideal mech for the mission you were about to face. We're talking about impressive levels of customization. Referred to like as armchair engineer's joy, you had many aspects of your mechas that you could change, meaning the heads, the cores, both arms and the weapons, the shoulder mounted weapons, you had melee weapons, you had thrusters on your legs for huge leaps and flight, massive jets to fly around the terrain at hyperspeed, or make yourself a half tank. There's the visuals of your mech and its design. You could make, if you wanted, a multicolored monster. The point is, if you saw a mech in the game, or an aspect of a mech in like a cool trailer, you could get that thing in the game, make it and run it yourself. And I think that was a massive point for this series, to be able to pilot and customize your own mech in true form. Now what you would do with that mech varied. You'd be sent on missions that came in a variety. These missions included fighting standard military enemies, lower level mechs, full-on other armored cores in almost like boss fight duels, massive sieges of advanced bases, and it's all set in this war-torn landscapes and cities. Of course, there was an overarching storyline in the different games, but as the series progressed, something did happen that, well, some people had issue with. And I'm seeing excitement for that now, because they seem to be walking back on the overly futuristic, pristine mecha style that it started to become. Fires of Rubicon looks like our mechas are going to be more of a middle ground between the rust bucket that can also fight, or say a hyper advanced, sleek and futuristic machine. It seems like a fan favorite sweet spot is in the middle of those two places. And it reminds me weirdly of what happened to Iron Man in the MCU, if you know what I mean, where originally it was this really impressive metal suit that looked almost real. Then it just became this complete CGI thing that didn't seem real at all anymore. So walking back in that way, that seems wise to me. But now a word on the controls, because this is a contention point, I think. It's going to be a major thing we're wondering about for Armored Core 6, and if all fans are going to like it. I think this is a tricky topic, so I hope you stick with me on this. It was not new player friendly. I think we can acknowledge that. Whether you're using a weird claw grip to control your mech, or struggling with all the different stats and things you needed to manage. To try to learn how to pilot the mechas was a frustrating and lengthy process, leading to it feeling very clunky and poorly designed to someone who's trying it for the first time before they get into it. However, when you did start to understand and it sinks in, you could obviously control the mechs with good precision and skill, swapping between your large arsenal of weapons at will, flying through the terrain, managing the situation with a lot of fluidity. The problem, I think, is that all fans of the series are going to see that as a plus, something that they're really happy to have, a logical aspect of the series that made it feel more real. I mean, think about it. Piloting a mech would not be easy, and so that being semi-reflected in the complicated nature of piloting in-game, well, that makes sense and helps with immersion. The issue is that it's been over a decade since the last game. Are they really making this next one for just old fans? I don't think so. I foresee a shift in the design for this new Armored Core game, in which the mechs will be more intuitive to control and pilot from the beginning. But I really think there should be, and hopefully will be, I'm sure there will be, a lot of depth and skill that remains to satisfy a long-time player who wants to maximize their gameplay. Surely you'll still need to manage the various aspects of your mech, but I expect them to recreate how it works to allow for a less invasive and clunky experience at first. Will this be a complete reboot though? Will this feel alien to the old fans? No, I don't think so, thinking about the trailer at all. Sure, we'll probably get something more fresh and updated, with a new storyline and new atmosphere for the series, but in a familiar system that's just been streamlined to be more beginner friendly. Will this be like a Mecha Souls game? Are we going to be combat rolling for attacks and parrying? No, but there's surely going to be some design choices influenced behind the success of that series and behind the massive audience and player base that are going to be interested in Armored Core 6 because of the Soulsborne series. But now let's quickly go over the trailer at the Game Awards itself, because clearly the potential of a reboot of sorts is happening here. It seems we know the situation and the story, and we have context to what the game's going to be like from FromSoftware themselves. If you just watch the trailer, you might be looking at a world that's burned, maybe like the sun itself exploded. Yet somehow people have survived after that, and armored cores still exist, even if they're looking a bit more beat up now. People must be fighting to survive somehow surviving that ashen and destroyed world. And how will this work? It seems like a stark contrast to the more military mission style settings of the older games, and yet we're still seeing mechs fight mechs, armored core versus armored core, facilities that seem to be running to create and repair them, advanced military squads flying through the air, bases being defended against some sort of onslaught. It's gritty, sure, but it's familiar, isn't it? Well, when FromSoftware explains to us what's actually happening here, we get more context. This description comes from the official website. In Fires of Rubicon, you can manipulate your own original mecha that you have assembled to freely run around the three-dimensional stages with slow and steady maneuvers. In addition, you can enjoy a variety of actions that can only be realized within a mecha, such as challenging situations and overwhelming enemies. We will do this through dynamic movement with ranged and close combat. All sounds fine and fair, but it's not until we read the press relations fact sheet where we're able to learn the context of the story properly. So thank you to Lance McDonald for sharing that sheet. A mysterious new substance was discovered on the remote planet Rubicon 3. As an energy source, this substance was expected to dramatically advance humanity's technological and communications capabilities. Instead, this substance caused a catastrophe that engulfed the planet and surrounded the stars in flames, forming a burning star system. Super cool. Almost half a century later, the same substance resurfaced on Rubicon 3 though, a planet now contaminated and sealed off. Extraterrestrial corporations and resistance groups fight over the control of that substance now. The player infiltrates Rubicon as an independent mercenary, finds himself in a struggle over the substance with the corps and other factions. So roughly 50 years after that terrible event that engulfed it all in flames, a contaminated and sealed off planet now has an incredibly powerful substance available again, resulting in an arms race. This is the terrain and decimated landscape, this ashen world that we see in the trailer, and we will just be playing as a simple independent merc, finding ourselves in the middle of it all. That sheet also tells us that the game will release on PlayStation and Xbox on current and previous gen, as well as PC, thank God, featuring both single player and multiplayer modes, much like the older games. I really like this setting, I like this setup. It gives them the ability to build off what was there, but in a totally different, pretty intense setting. So my question now is, what do you think, having heard all of this? Maybe if you're more of a Soulsborne fan, do you think this will engage you and interest you now? Or as an original fan of Armored Core, are you hopeful for this potential semi-reboot? I'm personally very interested to see what changes they make and if they can capture a new audience. But what I most want to see is some gameplay. And how will it all work? We're just going to have to wait and see. The game releases at an unknown time in 2023, so I'm expecting to learn more in a few months' time. For now though, that's been my overview of the Armored Core news. I hope this video was useful and interesting. If it was, please drop a like. I've been Hollow, you've been you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.